So this you see here is every client, every project, every note in my business and how they all connect. And yes, it looks complicated. I promise you it's not. And in the next 10 minutes from now, you'd actually know how to build it, starting from a single empty folder. So if you're a coach, you're a consultant, or you're a service provider, and your clients' notes are scattered across multiple tools, email, Google Docs, Slack, and sticky notes, then this is a system that would actually end that problem for you. There are three reasons to pick Obsidian over every other notes app. The first one is capturing a thought takes zero effort. Second, your notes link together so nothing gets lost. And then the third is that it's yours offline on your computer in a format that actually works forever. So I'm going to give you the essential 80%, the part you would actually use to run your business or your projects, and I'm going to skip the rest. Let's get right into it. First things first, what is Obsidian? Actually, people make it look very complicated, but it's a lot more simpler than it actually is. So just think of Obsidian as a vault, okay? And a vault is just a folder of notes on your computer. That's it. Here's mine. You can see it right here on my desktop. Every note you see here is basically a plain text file. You open it in Obsidian and it looks clean like this. But you could actually open the same file in any application. So Google Docs, Google Keep, Google Anti-Gravity, because these are all like Markdown files. So you can actually like open it anywhere because you actually own it. So even if Obsidian, the application, disappeared tomorrow, you're actually not going to lose your notes. You can still open your notes anywhere. And you can't actually say that about most applications, especially the ones you pay for, right? They try to lock you in. And what I like about Obsidian is that it works offline because it's on your computer and it's also free. I know there's a paid sync option, about $5 a month or so. If you want your notes on your phone and you want it on your laptop, then you can actually go for that. But you don't necessarily need that to start. You can actually even keep the folder in Dropbox and sync it for free. So, good thing about this is no locking, like I mentioned, no subscription to begin, and your data is yours. That's the foundation. Now, let me talk about the basics because this is the part that makes Obsidian very different from Google Docs or other note taking applications. So on the left side here, you can see every note in your vault. Remember, I said that it's just a vault, right? So on the left hand side here, you can see every note in your vault. And up here is where you'd actually create a new note. You just have to click on this and you can create a new note. Right here, you can actually search for anything across your entire notes. I recommend that you remember this button because it's the feature that would actually save your life. Now, if I wanted to make a client's note, for instance, I'll just click on this and I'll click this and I'll basically give it a name. Let's say Acme Co, maybe Hub or something like that. And then I'll give it a name. Now watch this. You can see that if I want to like connect it to a project, like any of these notes I have here, all I need to do is use a two square bracket and I can actually select the project I want to connect it to and it would actually be linked. Now you can see that Obsidian suggested like the type of like the notes I should link it to. So that's actually done. And at the end of the day, this is actually linked to a project I already do have in my vault. Now, this is why it actually matters. Okay, let me click on something like this. At the bottom of any note, you can see that it has like backlinks. Okay, every other note would actually point to the backlink. So, as you can see, I have all these things, and these are really all the 5 backlinks I have. And that is actually good because it makes it very easy for you to organize your projects and look for things that are actually connected to each other. So my Acme Hub or the vault I have automatically gathers every meeting and every project about Acme without me having to fill anything. And the connections do the organizing. And in the beginning, you did see this fancy graph view here in the beginning. What you saw is basically a graph view. And every note in my vault here is actually a dot. And every line you see here is actually how they are actually connected. So it's pretty, it's fascinating, but that's not like entirely the whole point. The point of this graph view is for you to see exactly how all your nodes are actually connected to each other in Obsidian. Now, I want to talk a bit about like some quick settings I recommend you change, especially if you're getting started with Obsidian. So the first one has to do with like the files and links. Okay. So if you click on settings below and you click on files and links, what you're interested in is basically going down to automatically update internal links. Okay. So this is what you're interested in. You want to make sure that this is on. And the reason why you want to do that is because sometimes you may rename a file in Obsidian. So if I come here and I rename a file in Obsidian, I don't want projects that are linking to this exact file to break. So if you set this on, then it means that it's going to fix that automatically for you so that when you make a change to the title of the notes, it doesn't break. Now, the other thing I would want you to also change, or I recommend you change, is also like setting the default location for new attachments. So let's say you sort of like attach an image to your notes or you attach a PDF to your note. You want to make sure that it doesn't clutter on your sidebar. So you can basically decide where any new attachments go into. So maybe you can say that it can be in the same folder as the current file. You can actually decide where this goes to. It's really good for like the way things are organized so that you don't have clutter. Now, let me talk a bit about the appearances. So you can also change the appearance of your vault or of your notes, right? There's a lot of themes that you can choose from. So if you click on appearance and you click on manage, you can see that there are a lot of themes here that you can actually choose from. So I currently have the wasp, but let's say you want something else, like let's say prism, right? You can actually like install prism and use it if that's the one you want, or you want something a lot more fancy, then you can also use that as well. So you can change the appearance, you can make changes to the colors and all that, depending on how you want this to look like. So I'm just going to go back and select the theme I was on already, which I absolutely love, which is the wax theme. Okay, so that's actually optional. Like you don't need to like change it, but it's optional. Now I want to talk a bit about some mistakes people make when they actually start using Obsidian. And because they make these mistakes, they end up quitting in the first few weeks. The first thing is people start using Obsidian and they import all their notes from like 10 years ago. Like the honest reality is that don't try to import everything all at once. If you go and you dump like 1,000 old notes in on day one, that's exactly why you'll never find anything. So just make sure that you're just doing this step by step so that you don't lose anything with your client's live work. The second one is I haven't talked about plugins a lot, but then don't chase plugins on day one, right? If you come in here, there's a core plugin, there's community plugins, and I'm going to be talking about this, but don't chase them. Like there's a lot of plugins. They're amazing. They're beautiful. There's so many things that you can actually have in Obsidian working for you. But I would say that don't start with this, especially if you're getting started with Obsidian. But just make sure that you understand the basics first before you go into it. And the third one is don't try to over organize everything into folders. Too many folders, and you'd end up spending more time deciding where a note goes than actually writing it. Big buckets, and then let structure in its place as you move on. And then finally, don't skip the shortcuts. And I'm going to give you some shortcuts that you can actually use so that using this application feels faster than ever so that you don't quit. So now let's talk about the shortcuts, okay? So this is how you can be fast with Obsidian. Now I'm using a MacBook, so anytime I say command plus something, if you're using a Windows PC, you basically have to use control, okay? So if you're on a MacBook and you basically want to bold in a text, it's just basically command plus B, and you can see just like that, the text becomes bold. If you want to italize something, is command plus I. You can see this is now changing to italics. If you want to make something into a heading, all you have to do is you use the hashtag, and then you can actually have something as a heading. If you want something as a bullet point, you just use the dash and then you click on space on the space bar and you have it as a bullet point. If you want to actually like make a checklist, then you need a dash and a bracket. So you can do a dash and a bracket, and then you have a checklist there. If you want to find something on the page, you can basically do a command plus F, and you can actually search for whatever you're looking for on the page. If you want to switch between different tabs, you can do command plus O, and you can actually switch between multiple tabs. If you want to, let's say, open the command palette, for instance, you can do Command plus P, and then you can actually select the stuff you want to do. I think the command palette is very important, especially if you forget any of your shortcuts. That is a command you should never forget. So if you learn any five of these shortcuts I've talked about, you realize that you can capture your client's notes before the thoughts are even finished. And I keep saying client's notes, that's not the only thing you can actually do with Obsidian. Like if you are working on a project, you're a PhD student, like you can actually use Obsidian to do all of these, right? I just chose client's notes as a use case for this exact tutorial. So now I want to talk about what you can actually keep in a note. Okay. So yes, a note, you can see there's a lot of text here in the examples I've given, but a note does not just hold text. You can actually have images here in your notes as well. So I have this image here. I can actually just drop it in here. You can actually drop PDFs. You can actually turn on audio recorder and you can drop a quick voice memo right after a call before you actually forget it. You can have tables like I did earlier on. You can have a command P here. If I click on command P here, I can actually insert a table. You can add in properties to your table. So just think of anything you would want to keep in your notes, right? Is very important. Now let me talk a bit about some advanced features. I know I wanted to keep this tutorial very basic, but let me talk a bit about two advanced features. So the first advanced feature is the canvas. Okay, so if you come onto the right hand side, you can actually create a new canvas here, and just think of a canvas as an infinite whiteboard. If you are someone who does a lot of brainstorming, then a canvas will work really well for you because you can actually use the canvas to create relationships, help you with brainstorming. So for instance, if I want to, let's say, connect this exact note here to another note, I can always have these two here, and then I can actually draw a link between them. So again, if you're working on a project, you want to have like a dashboard, you want to create relationships, then the canvas is your go-to to use. The other thing I also want to talk about is like bases. So bases is also another very cool fancy feature that you can actually use inside Obsidian. So bases are basically a way to turn your notes into spreadsheets. Okay, so you can see like when I created create new base here, if I click on properties that I want to filter, you can see all of a sudden I have like a table view here for me. I have like a spreadsheet. So basically this can be like a mini CRM for you that is built on the notes you already have. Remember those properties you would probably create earlier on, they will pay off here. I've created a new base here. I can always add in some filters, can show status. I can show so many things just by using the bases. And the best part about the bases is that it updates itself. Okay, so if I go and update, let's say, a note inside my vault, the table would change. I don't have to like do anything in the base or in the table here. Now, I want to talk a bit about where AI fits in here because I know my channel usually talks about AI tools and you're asking yourself, where's the AI in all of this? Well, the honest answer is that Obsidian necessarily is not, I wouldn't say it's an AI tool. It doesn't have like AI automatically built in. And I actually like that for some reasons because you can decide how much AI ever touches your notes. If you want to use AI, there are many ways in which you can have AI in this. And in subsequent videos, I'm going to show you how I'm using Obsidian with NotebookLM, Claude Code, and all the fancy AI tools that we have right now. But let's say for starters, if you wanted to use AI one way, you can do it a manual way by coming into your notes, copying it, going into ChatGPT or Claude, and sort of like asking it to manipulate the data you have, whether you want to summarize it or do whatever you want to do with it. But I'm not someone who encourages manual work. So let's talk about the other way in which you can also use AI inside Obsidian. Now, if you click on the settings again, remember when I talked about plugins, there are lots of community plugins here. So if I click on community plugin here, for instance, and I click on browse, there are so many plugins inside here that you can actually use that have a bit of AI in them, right? One common one I usually would recommend is the smart connections. Like I already do have it installed in my instance, but you can use smart connections, for instance. It's free to download. You don't need any API keys or any of that stuff. But what it does is that it surfaces related nodes automatically, right? So this here, you can see that it's showing me like all the notes here. It basically helps you surface like related notes automatically. And that's good, right? At the end of the day, you have to decide how much of AI you want in your business or where you want AI to be in your business. Now, I know this was supposed to be a 10 minutes tutorial, but it ended up going way longer than 10 minutes. So if you've enjoyed this tutorial to this point, give me a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed to my channel, like this video, subscribe, share all the good stuff. I do have lots of tutorials on this channel covering N8N, Claude, OpenClaw, like lots of AI tools. So if this is your first time here, thanks for joining me. But then I also recommend that you watch my other videos, subscribe, share, and all the good stuff. As usual, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.